Hey everyone, this is Corey with Stafford's EDC doing a little triple video here. These are all Rosecraft blades, as you can see, and we're going to quickly go through all of them. Now, I didn't really put any use on these. I can kind of tell you that Rosecraft, they all perform the same way for the most part, and they all carry similarly based on their pattern, but I will go over some stuff with you guys here. One thing I do want to show off though is that there are some knife slips that Rosecraft has now. So they look like nice stitched leather slips. I'll show one off for you. You can see the branding on it, the end grain. You know, these would definitely need to break in. They haven't been used at all, but I'm just showing off that these are a thing. If I can get it back in plastic, that'd be even better. There we go. You might hear some background noise. We got a puppy recently, and he is in between my feet at the moment. But yeah, nevertheless, let's get started. And I wonder if I have these boxes in order. That would be sweet. So from left to right, you have the Loom Fixer. You can see the code right there. It's a rosewood, I do believe. Yeah, they are in order. How about that? Then you have the Farm Hand, which is like their sodbuster pattern. Also in, I believe, a rosewood with this checkered pattern. And then you have their cotton sampler on the right. With a much darker wood. I don't know if that's rosewood or if it's ebony or something of that nature, but it is certainly a darker wood. As I throw the knives together, let's get them all opened up, wipe the blades down, and I'll work my way from left to right, talking about each one of these. Okay, so let's start over here with the Loom Fixer. The Loom Fixer kind of reminds me of the GEC 93 pattern, the ram's foot, as they call it. It's not a lamb's foot blade. That would be much slimmer, but a ram's foot, rather. This kind of sway back handle design with this sheep's foot blade tends to have that pattern called out for it. The wood on this is pretty nice, with some varying color in the grain and some nice grain running along it on both sides. The shield is inlaid nicely. The pins are all nice. As always, the construction on the Rosecraft knives is very good. You're not really seeing gaps or any, no proud pins, no visible pins on the bolsters. Always well done. This, of course, has the normal complaint that I have with Rosecraft knives, which is that the pivot is just really tight on these. Now, of course, you don't want blade play, but it's not very snappy. See how long it takes to jump to the half stop? And then on the close is much better. If it could do that to the half and to the open, it would be great. But you can see how close that is to open and how light that snap is on the open. I just find that these get really tight up in the pivot. We'll talk about that because this one, the farmhand, is not very tight in the pivot, and there's a little blade play, but the action's phenomenal. The walk and talk's very good. So I think there's definitely a balance somewhere in there. This, of course, sway backs are fairly ergonomic, despite what some people might think, especially for draw cuts. If you're going to be holding it in the reverse grip and pulling towards you, this works really well. And even then, I find that if you hold this kind of out in the fingers, let that swell go into your palm, this is a pretty comfortable way to use any sway back pattern. So this is the Loom Fixer. And, it's a good all-around knife, and if you really like this design, it's certainly the most affordable way, outside of buying like a Rough Rider, to get a, kind of this ram's foot pattern. I think there's a few Rough Rider models like this, but for $50 or whatever this is, you're doing pretty good. These are really well-made knives. As I said, I just wish that they were a little snappier. Now let's move on to the farmhand. This is larger than a small sodbuster, or a sodbuster junior, and smaller than a full-size sodbuster. It's actually a really nice size. You can see the way this fits my hand. I like to carry knives that are at least 4 inches closed typically. I don't have the specs pulled up for these in front of me, but it fits the hand pretty nicely. This checkering that is, I would assume, lasered in there, is something you can actually feel. You can probably hear my fingernail hit it. So it does provide some meaningful amount of grip. There's some decent grain running through it, though it is a little harder to see due to that pattern. And again, you're talking about really nice fit and finish, no visible pins. The pins are all flush. The one place this does have a little something is there's a little gap on the back right there, as you can see, and then there is some blade play in this. You might be able to see, you might not. I'm trying to hold it very still, but it's hard to do. My computer's very loud in the background as well, so I apologize. But nevertheless, this has what looks like a hollow grind, but I believe is a flat grind. It doesn't thin out the way that hollow grind would, but it's, the shape of the grind does remind me of a hollow grind for sure. This would still cut well. The stock's not incredibly thick, and it does get to a very reasonable edge. As I said, the size on this is really nice, super ergonomic. The Sodbuster pattern is classic for a reason. This is very akin in size to a GEC 71. I'll show you the action on this one. You're going to see how much better that snap was and the closed. You can hear that and see the way that it jumps is a lot more aggressive than this. However, it does have that slight bit of blade play. So that's usually the trade-off, is that you might not tighten the pivot down as much, but you are going to have just that little bit of play. This has nice crisp walk and talk on the way out and on the way closed. Really well done by the farmhand. I would assume they are not all having this minor gap and the blade play. You probably have more solid examples out there, no doubt about it. But I think it's something to keep in mind that this is really well done and a really great size if you do have larger hands. So keep the farmhand in mind. It's not a case, but I think it's built better than a case. It has a half stop. Not a lot to complain about. Case is really, really hit or miss with their QC. So Rosecraft is definitely better in terms of that. God, my computer sounds like it's going to take off. I apologize. But we have the cotton sampler here. The wood, very nice on this. Again, I don't know the type of wood off the top of my head. It doesn't really say it on the box. I know you can find this on the Rosecraft website, as well as I'm sure there are retailers as well. Now the cotton sampler, there's a whole bunch of history behind this blade and why this portion is here. Essentially, you would just stab this into a cotton bale, and then this little corner was designed to pull some cotton out so you could test for the quality, for the type, I assume is the correct term. Essentially like the level or grade of cotton. If they say it's all fine and then you pull out large fibers from the middle, you know that you were getting BS'd by them just putting the fine stuff on the outside and trying to hustle you for the less refined stuff. Now this, again, really great fit and finish. The only real seam you can see is between the blade and the tang. Not really a problem. A little bit of a seam at the butt down here, but nothing too major. This one feels really nice in the hand. It is very similar to a GEC 74. They make a cotton sampler of their 74 pattern, as well as a few other blade shapes. And this is extremely similar in size. And honestly, the action in this is pretty tight. You can hear it's got a pretty stiff spring by the way that opens. But this does not have a ton of snap to it. Again, there's no blade play. I think this is just a little tight. Which again, I'd rather the knife be tight than have significant blade play, but I'd like a better balance on the action. I've mentioned it before in the past when talking about Rosecraft knives that I think the tangs are just a little too rounded off at those corners. If they had a little less rounding, I think they would certainly jump a lot more from position to position, but it's not bad. It's not bad at all. I mean, you're talking about other companies in the same price range not even offering half stops. So it's nice to have them because I just prefer a half stop over a cam tang. But that is going to wrap this one up. This again was the cotton sampler, and you have the farmhand and the Loom Fixer on the left. Let me know which one of the three is your favorite, and if you have Rosecraft knives, if you're looking forward to any. I know they have some releases in Stag and Blue Bone coming out for their Barlows. So keep an eye out for those. I think they're launching on the website fairly soon. And with that, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and have a great rest of your day. Take care.